we've explored some of the gospel stories in John's account, there were some funny things happening there. Remember in the story of the man born blind, there was all that coming and going and coming and going, and how many times the man born blind had to explain to the authorities what had happened. And in fact, they dragged in his family, and his family says, well, the boy is old enough to explain for himself. And then the boy himself says, I think you keep asking me because you want to be followers of Jesus too. Gotcha. So there's supposed to be humor in that, right? And then we talked about the story of raising of Lazarus. And oy vey, the stench after he's been in the grave for 4 days. That's what Scripture says. And in the story of both of Lazarus' sisters, they say, Jesus, if you'd have been here, he wouldn't have died. Jesus, if you'd have been here, he wouldn't have died. We are supposed to laugh at some of this background to these stories. They're helpful for understanding the story, which is today's story for us, because there are comical elements in the Easter story from Matthew, and we might miss them if we weren't looking for them. We have to take the message seriously, oh yeah, but we should do it with laughter and lightness of being and joy and hope. Because what? Matthew's the only one where there's an earthquake. And what is the earthquake caused by? An angel coming down out of heaven who manfully rolls that stone away from the tomb and plops down on it. And then Scripture says the guards became like dead men, i.e. they were scared to death. And did you hear what the angel said? He's not here. He's been raised, as he said. Come on, take a look. Now go quickly and tell the others. One commentator said that reading this little piece of the angel on the stone makes him think of the Bugs Bunny cartoon. You know, the one where Bugs is found casually sitting somewhere with his cigar in his hand saying, "What's up, Doc?" Can you not hear a chuckle in the angel's voice, as in one of the other Gospels, the angel says, "Why are you looking for the living among the dead?" Folks, there is a lightness of being in this amazing story of mystery, friends. Because what we have is consistent, paradoxical brother Jesus, who turns almost everything all the time upside down. Typically, right, the only springtime found in a cemetery is on the graves, not in them. A graveyard, place of death, becomes a scene of life for us. The place marked by sorrow and weeping is transformed into this place of almost unspeakable joy. The earthquake, only in Matthew, the earthquake, like the star that guided the Magi, only in Matthew. Matthew wants us to know for sure that the earth and the cosmos are taking notice of this amazing event. From the astonishing pregnancy of Jesus' mother Mary, through that chaotic scene at the River Jordan with wild man John, and the challenge of the vision quest that Jesus sets out on in the wilderness, to his home synagogue where his family is so proud of him, until his message was a bit too presumptuous, to the quiet and the not so quiet disputes that he had with the religious authorities over the letter of the law and the intent of the law, the healings, the loving, the feeding, the reaching out, even the betrayal and mockery and suffering and agonizing execution, Jesus did nothing expected. And he caused reactions from almost everyone: fear, anger, anxiety, worry, hope, expectation, surprise, and joy. Bishop Gene Robinson writes, "What the women got at the tomb was not what they expected. Instead of the presence of the stench of a decaying body and an absence of the Jesus they had known and loved, they found the absence of stench and decaying body and the presence of the living Jesus." Mary Magdalene goes to the garden seeking her teacher, and what she finds is not a new revelation. She finds the one that she had loved. This is really important. Mary Magdalene goes to the garden seeking her teacher and finds not a new revelation, but the one that she has always loved. You know, friends, the stories about the resurrection, they're not philosophical arguments. Too many of us continue to focus our energy on ridiculous arguments about what did or did not happen there, and how do you explain it to someone who doesn't want to believe it. Those are useless arguments. As Barbara Brown Taylor says, no one has ever seen the resurrection happen, which is why it helps me to remember that no one saw it happen on the first Easter either. The resurrection is the one and only event in Jesus' life that was entirely between him and God. No witnesses. No one on earth can say what happened inside that tomb. No one was there. They all arrived after the fact. So here's what I want to suggest and ask you to take with you as we come to the table this morning, to take with you as we go out into the world where there's so much pain and confusion and anger and hopelessness and such a lack of joy. For us, Easter is the final confirmation that in Jesus, we get to see the God of the universe, the one who loves us so much that God comes out of the stench and the darkness and the apparent irreversibility of death to say, "Gotcha, you are mine. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, you are mine, and I love you, and I want you to know joy and hope and peace and beauty." So friends, the question for this morning is not, do you believe? But are you ready to encounter the living Christ? The question is not, so what changed after Easter? The question is, who changed? And look how those first disciples, who were dispirited and frightened and scattered, became charged up and danced into the upper room in Jerusalem and then out into all the world with the message that we heard from Peter today. As Eugene Peterson says it, it's God's own truth. Nothing could be plainer. God plays no favorites. It makes no difference who you are or where you're from. If you want God and you're ready to live with God, God's arms are wide open. The angel said, "Do not be afraid." And a few minutes later, as Mary and Martha ran with fear and joy to tell the others, Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid." So let's do that. What do you say? Let's fear not. Let's be unafraid. Let's live liberated lives, because in spite of whatever valleys we journey through, we belong to God. This God, the one we see in Jesus, the one we see on the first Easter morning, the one who was dead but is now alive forevermore. Yes, oh yes, Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed.